Welcome to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten. Hi, I'm Wendy. After I graduated with my master's in wellness management, I started my own company, T2 Coaching, Health, Fitness, and Sport. And I'm Kirsten, an athlete, vegan, life coach, and girl mom, running a business focused on helping others create a life they love. We are here to explore all things wellness to help you become the person you've always wanted to be. So if that's why you're here, open your ears and your mind as we tackle the world of wellness together.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Kirsten. How are you?
I am good. It seemed to work last time with me recording at the gym, so it's a little echoey, but it was the first time we didn't have any interruptions in our recording in like 3 weeks. So I'm going to take that as a wellness win.
Nice. So that's your wellness win for the week?
No, my wellness, I'm trying to celebrate every little wellness win this month. This is my wellness win month of like just baby wellness wins. So I think my wellness win is I ended up last week hitting a curb, which I felt really like dumbass and totally my fault. But it ripped both my hubcaps on that side, and it had a little gash in my tire. And I was like, seriously, like, this sucks. But the wellness win is right now, since I do have an older car and I'm not really sure, like, I'm not a car person, so I don't know what kind of maintenance it's going to need for the future. I've actually budgeted $200 a month for my car maintenance.
Oh, that's great.
So I had no idea how much it would cost. I made an appointment for yesterday. That was the first time I had an hour in the middle of the day. So I was going to take it in at 2 and ended up locking my keys in my car for the second time in a month. And we've talked about ADHD on this podcast before. I had my keys in my hand. I locked the door and I was about to close it, and Kat was like, "Oh, do you have any electrolytes?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I have tons." So I reached over, set my keys in the passenger seat to get my bag of electrolytes, fished out electrolytes for her, got back out of the car and closed the door.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as I set my keys down and focused on the electrolytes, I had the electrolytes, but no keys. So by the time AAA came, thankfully I have AAA, saved me twice this month, free. I missed my tire appointment. So then I had to do my tire appointment today. I usually swim for 45 minutes on Wednesday afternoon. I do like just an easy recovery swim. So I'm really like mad at myself for missing that, because it's actually one of the things I really enjoy. So I'm at Lifetime right now, and I go out to the outdoor pool and put on my fins and just kind of like cruise through some like kicks and swims and backstroke and love it. So I actually had to miss that because I got my tire fixed today. And I don't know, I haven't looked at the receipt yet because I was kind of rushed to get back to the gym so I wouldn't be late to coach. They only charged me $20 for a new tire. And I never buy like the tire protection, but I might have accidentally bought the tire protection because when I got my new car and I went to get new tires on it, I needed a new rim and I needed the alignment, and it all ended up to be this like $600 thing. But I don't remember purposefully getting the tire protection because I normally don't do those extra warranties, but I might have, so this brand new tire only costed me $20. And then they told me the hubcaps, the rims weren't bent, the hubcaps, like they just had to like pull this piece of metal out because it was kind of sticking out. And they're like, "It's not going to look pretty." I'm like, "I don't care as long as my car is 100% safe." And so it was a wellness win that it was only $20. That was a wellness win, maybe out of my control because I don't remember doing that warranty. But the wellness win was that I have $200 saved every month for maintenance on my car. So it wasn't even a thing. Like I didn't even have to blink. I had the $20. I didn't have to stress about it. because I haven't had time to do plasma the last 2 weeks. And so a couple other things that I'm like, usually I wanted to stay in the habit of making money, just haven't happened, but it wasn't a stressor at all because I have it in my budget to, if anything happens to my car. So that was my wellness win, was I actually had money and it didn't cost as much as I thought it was going to be. So it was a win-win all around.
Awesome.
Yeah. What was yours?
So I was really excited about my wellness win, and I have a little backstory to explain it. So back March 27th, I was going to volunteer at the Georgia Death Race. I had 2 volunteers positions, and one of them was to do the flagging, pull the flags, the first 21 miles. So because of that, I drove up the day before and I stayed with my friend Ryan and his family because my friend Ryan was doing the race. So I offered to, I'm like, let's just drive. I'll just drive you to the race since I'm going there as early as you are. We left at like 3:50 in the morning, which was good. And at 4 a.m., the goal was to get in there by 4:30 for a 5 a.m. start. At 4 a.m., I got pulled over by a cop. I apparently blew a 4-way stop sign. And I'm like, what? No, we weren't speeding or anything. I didn't see it. I did see a lot of construction cones with flashing lights. And the cop told me there were flashing lights at the 4-way stop sign. I'm like, okay, I didn't see it. Literally just I knew my license was in my pack in the back of my car. Wasn't even thinking about a cop. Like, ask the cop to get out of your car and go, get your license. So I just opened my door, ran to the back of my car, opened my trunk. He's probably like, what the hell is this lady doing? Got my license, whatever. I'm like, Ryan, I'm so sorry. You should call your parents. Again, long story, whatever. We were there for 5 or 10 minutes. I still got to the race, kind of threw the ticket in the back of my car. And then like a month later, I'm like, oh, I should look at this ticket. What's the citation? And I had a June 8th court date. And I thought, I don't want to go back to Blairsville. It's almost a 2-hour drive. And I should just pay the ticket. And then I talked to my sister about it and she's like, no, you should go to court. Because when I looked it up, it's a 3-point on my record, which again will increase your car insurance. So I'm like, I've been kind of agonizing over it for 3 months. Letting it stress me out a little bit too much, like kind of creating actually more anxiety than it should have. So I just decided, 2 weeks before my court date, I told Don, I'm like, my court date's coming up. He's like, for what? And I reminded him of the story. He's like, just pay it. And I go, no, I don't want 3 points on my license because then that's just going to increase my insurance. So again, the court date just happened. I'm agonizing over this. I coach masters for 30 minutes. I leave early. My court date was supposed to be, or court time was 9 a.m. I get there at 8:20 because I'm like, I just want to get there. Get there at 8:20. Sit in the hall. It was like almost looked like an elementary school. It was the Blairsville courthouse. It looked like an elementary school when I walked in. Sat down, waited for the judge and the prosecutor to come in and they walked in at about 8:40. So as soon as they came in, I followed them in, sat down. There was one other guy there. They did some stuff. There was like a stack of papers so big that they had a lot of citations to go over. And I'm like, well, in 20 minutes, like there's no one here. I'm glad I'm early. So I sat there and the judge is like, who wants to go first? I'm like, I do. And again, I had planned like a half a day in court because I kept looking up what to expect. And all this information was like 45 to 90 minutes, but planned for a half a day. So the judge, I explained what happened. And I said, I'm here because I want you to, I'm asking for you to take the 3 points off my record. And he goes, done. He goes, you can leave now. And I'm like, what? So I paid my fine, no points on my record. And I was out of there in 5 minutes.
Oh my God.
So nice. So again, all this anxiety that I created in my mind because of the unknown, I had no idea what to expect, was gone in 5 minutes. So then the best part about my that was a huge wellness win.
Huge.
So I celebrated 20 minutes later, I was at this place called Brasstown Bald. It's the highest point in Georgia at 4,718 feet above sea level. So I made the extra 20-minute drive, probably 30 minutes by the time I got to the top. And all of a sudden I'm at one of these locations that I've only been to 2 other times before because it's a long drive. And I'm like, well, I kind of was planning on spending the day in court. So I went for this amazing trail run at 4,700 feet of elevation gain to starting point. And it was just so happy. It's like I celebrated the fact that I took the time, went to court, did what I needed to do, got the points off, and I got a great run in. And this all happened on Monday. So that was just like so
Yeah.
just like this breath of air of I did it. I didn't take the easy way out and just pay the fine so I didn't have to make the drive. I just made the best of it. I turned this negative situation around and it ended up being like a really positive thing.
Yeah. And that there's a lot of good nuggets in there because we talk about this all the time, control the controllables. You don't know what the judge is going to do. So to stress about what might happen is wasted energy.
Absolutely.
What you controlled is you looked up, you did research. You're like, how long does this typically take? What should I expect? So that you have an idea going in. But once you're there, you're like, it's up to the judge to decide what to do.
Right. The answer is always no, unless you ask.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember the first time I went to a court, I was a kid and I got an accident. I was like 17 and it was like, I don't remember. It was like almost the max amount of points. Like I could have lost my license as a 17-year-old because they called it reckless driving. I slid on some gravel. I didn't really know how to drive, obviously. And I slid into a fence, like a person's fence that was right on the side of the road. And it like ripped down their whole fence.
Right.
So like nobody was hurt, but it was destroyed property, but it was considered reckless driving, which I guess is like one of the highest points. And in Colorado, once you get a certain number of points, you lose your license. And so I was like, I was hysterical. I was in high school. I was like a young kid. And I was so scared. I thought like the judge was going to be like Judge Judy and like yelling at me and like, what is your problem? Why are you even driving? But it was the same thing. So the cop who did the citation didn't show up. And so they dismissed it.
Oh,
and then I just had to pay like a court fee, like a filing fee and a court fee. And I mean, at the time I thought it was a lot of money, but it was probably like not even $100. Like now, like tickets I've had now, I've paid like $300 or $400 because it was either too far for me to go to court. Like, cause I just drive across, from here to California, from here to Utah a lot. So I can't go back to court in Utah or California. So the fines are really high, but yeah, I had that same experience. It was actually like, I made it out to be like, I'm a criminal and they're going to cart me away and take me to jail.
Well, part of, I had heard from my sister and just the research, if you're asking for a reduced sentence or, the no points. And, I had the script, trying to memorize the script of what to say. And I just became natural. I just said what I wanted to say without the script is, you're supposed to like say, I'll take a driving school. They have these driving schools. Some people say it's like a 6-hour online class. And the judge didn't even like bring it up. He didn't even say, okay, slash off your points, but in return, you have to take this driving school. Again, it was the most amazing, like easy experience.
Yeah.
It was just so great.
That's awesome. Well, nice job. Nice job, Judge. I also had an experience like later when I was a little older and it was a pretty high speeding ticket and I had to go to that traffic school. And that was before they had like all these online options. So I had to like sit in the traffic school and I felt like such a derelict. And I was like, but one of the things I still remember is they told us this statistic where, I'm going to get it wrong, but this is the gist of it. If you're driving next to somebody and you're going 10 miles per hour over the speed limit and they're going the speed limit and you're going like 10 miles, you're only going to get there like 30 seconds before them. Like they gave us facts like that to remind us that like we're causing all this risk of speeding we think we're saving all this time. And in fact, we're only saving like a handful of seconds and it's not really worth it is basically what the gist of it was. So, well, awesome. I love our wellness wins. We have Wendy and I, if this is the first time you're meeting us, we're both coaches. We both coach triathletes, swimmers, other athletes. We coach kids all the way from like 4 years old through 18 years old, and then also adults, both at the beginner level of sport, swimming, running, biking, triathlon, all the way up through elite level of the sport. And we get a lot of questions. And we get a lot of comments, a lot of things that people don't understand or they're confused about. Because if you just go on, Wendy's talked about this before, you go on a forum. It could be a Facebook group, it could be just social media, it could be any forums, and you ask a question. My knee hurts. I have a race in 2 weeks. What should I do? You're going to literally get 100 different answers from 100 different people who have had a knee problem or know somebody with a knee problem, which is very confusing. So you're going to end up still not knowing any more than you did before. So Wendy and I, we're not doctors. We're experts in coaching athletes and having experience over the last 30 years of learning how people work, things that work for people in all our sports, things that don't work, things that work for us, things that don't work, and when to take advice from a coach or when to take advice from a doctor. And typically in all of these questions, taking advice from a bunch of people you don't know, that you don't know their background, that you don't know who they are, is always not the best solution. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So we wanted to go over some of the questions that we've gotten over the last couple months, because we're mid-June, we're solid racing season here in most places in the United States. Some of the warmer places like Florida, California had some earlier season races. But right now it's pretty across the board. What people are racing right now. It's summer, it's racing season, it's training season. So Wendy, why don't you start with some athlete questions and we can just kind of evolve from there. We'll spend about 15, 20 minutes on answering some questions. And then if you guys have additional questions, whether it's about what we talk about, just send us a message, make some comments, and we can help clarify some things if you have further questions, or if you have other questions we didn't answer today. We usually do an Ask Us Anything every couple months because we do get a lot of individual questions. So Wendy, why don't you start?
Right. So I wanted to start with a comment, kind of a conversation to have with you, just to start us off. I had an athlete who was training for an event it was in Canada. It was a race called Oliver, and she had done it last year, but they pulled her off the course prematurely. So she didn't get to finish. So they offered her a free entry. And so she was doing the aqua bike. She did the aqua bike last year. They pulled her off the course. So she said, let's just try the triathlon. And so that's the first race I was training her for. And I've been coaching her, I don't know, maybe eight months. And she seemed all excited. We seemed really confident. We knew she'd be battling some cutoffs, but we were really like, let's just go out there and make the best of it. And let's see how far you can go. And you never know what's going to happen until race day. So let's see what you can do. And she was battling some other issues, knee pain, back pain. She ended up having some kidney stone pain and just other things going on. So she didn't start the race. She was having some issues with imposter syndrome. And so she did not start the race. And so we started this conversation about, DNS. And I know a lot of people always say, is a DNF, did not finish, worse than a did not start, or is a did not start worse than a DNF? And again, that doesn't matter because that's just in the mind of the beholder. Whatever is good or bad, whatever it is, it's just in the mind of the beholder. And so I was questioning, I'm like, is there a race that I never started? And I never started. There was a race in Utah. It was the St. George World Championships. The first year they had it in Utah, and I got an entry. And they switched the days of the males and females. And so they all of a sudden were going to split males and females. It was going to be a cost for me to change my flight, a cost for me to change my accommodations, and I didn't want to do it. So I didn't go to the race. So technically, I didn't start the race. Deep down, though, I use that as my way out, because when it came down to it, I really didn't want to go. And so when they made this switch, I'm like, oh, that's easy. I don't have to go. I used that as the excuse of me not going. I think I would have went though if that didn't happen, but I'm like, oh, good. Phew. I have a good reason not to go. So we had this conversation. Is that technically a DNS? Did not start. And as a deferral, if you do a race deferral, is that technically a did not start as well? So those are kind of like my questions to you based on your experience, your athletes. How do you feel about a did not start?
Yeah, I think that if you sign up for a race and you don't toe the start line, it's a did not start. Because if you think about it, like if you look at the results, you're not going to be in the results. And some companies will put DNS because you didn't start the race. Mm-hmm. As far as if that's quote good or quote bad, say I agree with you. Like I have the same thing. I signed up for this. It was going to be a training race, and it was, I think, a 10 mile or a 15 mile. I can't remember what I was training for. This was just maybe a year or two ago. And I woke up, it was like let's say it was a Sunday morning, and it was pouring rain. And I was like, ugh. And I'm like walking the dogs. They didn't want to be outside. I full on put on my rain gear. And all I was thinking is, this is going to be miserable. And I was in my car getting ready to drive to the race. And I was like, I don't need to go do this race. Like, what am I doing? Like, I hate being wet. I don't like rain. I could just go to the gym and run on the treadmill and do a time trial and not have to deal with any of this. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because once I decided that, we talk about like decision fatigue a lot. I mean, it was a 1-minute decision, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much better. I took off all the crappy clothes. I grabbed some different things. I didn't need my backpack anymore with my nutrition. I just went to the gym and it was easy. And I didn't have to justify it to myself because I didn't want to run in the rain. So it doesn't matter like why I think it's exactly what you said. It's in the mind of the beholder. If you feel like, oh my gosh, I signed up for this race, I have to do this race. That's your decision. And that's something that maybe you think that's a self-integrity thing. Maybe you think that is something like, I'm keeping my word to myself. Or I already told everyone I was doing this race, they're going to expect me there. Or I'm meeting people there, they're going to expect me there. On the other side of the spectrum, it's your choice. You signed up for the race. If you decide for whatever reason you don't want to do it, then you just bail out of the race.
Right. And everyone goes through I'm going to let down everyone who supports me, my friends, my family, my dietitian, my coach, yada, yada, yada. And she said, I let all the people down. She listed all the people with me as her coach. And I said, don't put words in my mouth. I never said you let me down. You said that. Again, that's in the mind of the beholder. In your mind, you may have let yourself down. It's a personal letdown. I get that. But if everyone who you just listed really supports you, they're still going to support you. Because if they don't support you just because you didn't start a race, they never supported you in the first place. Right. So again, we went through the whole back and forth of, it was your choice to go to the race. Now it's your choice not to do the race. And all the positive things that came out of the weekend anyways, her and her husband celebrated their anniversary. So there was a lot of actually good things. And then we listed all these lessons learned from this whole experience, which I think is outstanding because it's like you had an experience and look at all these things positive that came out of it and all these lessons learned that came out of it. So, you just, someone like me is now going to, once the time passes, have the question is did not starting worse than if you started and didn't finish? Because she's experienced DNFing before. So now, like, once the emotions of up and down the emotions are going to be over, then you just start asking yourself other questions beyond, in the end, it's always the best choice in the end.
Right. And it also depends on your why. We talk about your why all the time. If your why to race is, if it's a really big why to you and you have the option of starting or not, I say start, because I had an athlete I coached. She just did a 100-mile race. She wasn't going to taper for it because she's doing bad water in a few weeks, like a month. So she wasn't tapering for it, but she was backing off a little. But her backing off was less than anticipated. And she was like, I'm just going to go do the race. And I go, yeah, it's training your body to keep moving. You're working on your nutrition. You're working on, just being on your feet for 2 days straight. And I told her, I've told this to other athletes. I'm like, just keep going until you can't. Because she wanted to do the race. She was just like, oh, is this a bad idea? Should I even do this race?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, because your reason for doing it is a strong enough reason. And you don't have any reason not to.
Right.
Other than you're just looking ahead going, I'm not going to make my original goal. But this is what happened to me at Harvest Moon 2 weeks ago. I had a goal. It wasn't a big goal because I hadn't been training. But I knew my body enough that I technically could have made my goal if everything went fine. And it didn't. Like, there were 10 things that went awry that day, including like every 5 steps I would run, I would have to walk because I kept cramping. And I drank like 9 pickle juices. I took in so many calories, so many carbs, so many electrolytes. And I just kept cramping. Like, my run was 2.5 hours. My run, I say run very loosely. It was a lot of walking for 2.5 hours. But my why was I wanted a long training day. That's why I signed up for Harvest Moon. I couldn't get my butt motivated to train for New Mexico, which I do want to do. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sign up for this race for a long training day. So when things weren't going my way, it was okay, because my why for that race wasn't to win a race. My why was a long training day. The universe gave me a much longer training day than I even asked for, which is great because that was my why. On the flip side, when I did Oceanside and I had the mechanical, I was falling behind, I was grappling with, what is my why? And so at first, when I didn't know I was going to miss the cutoff, in my mind, I could have made it to the finish and done a half marathon after. But that would have put me at like 4:00 p.m. I came to Oceanside to race and be competitive. And my family was there, and I didn't want to hang out till 4 p.m. running after that bike. So my why was different. So even if I wouldn't have gotten pulled at the time cutoff, I wasn't planning on finishing the race after a couple hours. At first I was, but when like 2 hours went by, I'm like, no, I didn't. That wasn't my goal to come here and just get a long training day in. Whereas 2 weeks ago it was. So I stayed the course instead of not finish the course. Mm-hmm. So I think when you guys go into a race, and I promise you, if you're doing a longer trail run, if you're doing any sort of endurance, swim, 10K swim, a century or a double century, if you don't have a strong why, I don't know anyone who's ever done a long distance race who at some point during the race wanted to stop. Like, I don't know anyone who didn't want to stop at some point during the race.
Right.
Nobody. Like, there's some point for some reason. And if you don't have a strong why, you're going to stop. If you have a strong why, you're going to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention, because this actually just happened to one of my athletes this week. So there are some other options. If you, for whatever reason, you think that you might not be able to start a race, but if you still wanted to do the race, there are a lot of race directors that will let you switch to a variation of the race. And there's a lot of races these days that do have options like a duathlon. So I had an athlete. She had a procedure. She was going to do the Colorado triathlon this weekend. And her doctor's like, oh, you can't swim because you just had this procedure. We don't want an infection, because she was swimming in a lake. And so she was able to switch to the duathlon. She wasn't trained. I'm like, she didn't know. And she was going to do the sprint triathlon. And the only option for duathlon was Olympic. So all of a sudden, she's like 2 days before the race, she's like, oh crap, I'm doing the duathlon and it's twice as long as I thought I was going to race. So I had at the Wildlife Loop one year for the half Ironman. It's a low key race. This lady, the water was really cold, and she was like, I can't be in the cold. I'm not a cold water person. I didn't bring the right gear. She was like, can I switch to do the duathlon? There wasn't a scheduled duathlon, but she asked the race director, and he was like, yeah, but you just won't be in the results. She's like, I don't care. I just want to, I'm here. I want to bike and run. Yeah. So you can always, like, if you have, like, you hurt your foot, you have a stress fracture, so you can't run, maybe just swim and bike if you really still want to race.
Right.
You might not be in the results, but if you're there to, like, get the experience in the open water, just do the swim and then pull yourself from the race. So there's other options if you want to race, but you can't for some reason. There's other options than just did not start.
Yep, exactly.
So what else? What's your next question? That was
I thought you were going to go next. I had one, and you have one.
I just had one kind of talking point thing, but I was going to write it down right before we started and I forgot. So it'll come while we're talking. So. Okay.
So next one, I've completed multiple. This is one I actually saw in a Facebook group, but I think it's pretty common. I've completed multiple races, but I still feel like I don't belong in the triathlon world. How do I stop feeling like a fraud or imposter syndrome? And again, I think this is pretty common. I'm in this beginner triathlon group, so I kind of see this a lot, especially in a beginner group, is, again, I think that imposter syndrome is always in the mind of the beholder. So you have to address, what do you need for yourself to not feel like an imposter? So, like, I felt like an imposter a lot when I started trail running. The reason being, again, over time, I realized I was an elite triathlete. I am an elite triathlete. I'm an elite swimmer. I'm not an elite trail runner. And I had a hard time with that because I just thought I could transfer into trail running and still keep winning and still and crush it. But I couldn't. It was a new sport. There's downhills, running on trails. I'm still getting comfortable doing that. It's a new skill. And I every time I would, like, do this event, my mind always had these expectations that I was going to crush it. And then I would be getting crushed on the downhill.
Can you hear that screaming, baby?
I can. And so, like, I would crush it on the uphill because I was strong. That's not how you always want to race a trail, a 30K or a 50K or 50 mile. You don't want to be crushing it off the uphill. And then I'd get crushed on the downhill. And mentally, I would really beat myself up over it. Like, why are you here? Oh my gosh, it's happening again. What are you doing? You don't belong here. Stick to triathlon, yada, yada, yada. And then again, I overcame that by focusing on my why. I like the challenge. I'm motivated by challenges. This is a new challenge. You've only been doing this a year or two. What do you expect? I mean, how could you expect? Role play. What would you tell another athlete that came to you and said the same thing to you? How would you coach them, and what would you say to them? So I think a lot of role playing of the whole being an imposter, feeling like a fraud, is role playing. Like, what would you tell someone else if you were coaching someone just like you, saying the same thing? And again, focusing, it always goes back to the why. Like, why would you feel like an imposter if you really want to do this event moving forward? You signed up for the event. You're perfectly trained for the event. Don't let all that preparation get to your head. Give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance and execute to the best of your ability. And again, that if you have that strong why, the high fun value. So I've been talking a lot about my most important metric, HFV, high fun value, is the most important metric, especially as I get older. If it's not fun, it's time to make a change. make a change in distance, make a change in sport, take a break, do something else, do a completely different sport, or whatever the case may be. But if it's not bringing you high fun, then that doesn't mean you're an imposter. That just means we have to address just different issues of why isn't it fun for you anymore. And, I think imposter syndrome comes to you have these thoughts and feelings of other people in comparison, and you're worried too much about what other people are going to think of you. And I think that's the thing you need to address if you have imposter syndrome, is addressing that you're worried too much about what others are thinking. And that's the issue right there.
Yeah. I 100% had imposter syndrome when I started jujitsu, kind of for the same reason as you. In triathlon, I was very confident. I was good at my sport. Based on how I felt, I could go out and execute a race like I could guess my time in any race by like a few seconds. Mm-hmm. Because I would have myself dialed in and I understood the sport because I've been doing it for over 20 years. So when I started jujitsu, nothing made sense to me. It's nothing I've ever done before. They have names for things. They're like, oh, you're going to practice this with your partner until like the one person wins. And I'm like, well, what's a win? And they're like, oh, if you sweep or submit. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. And so like, I'd be grappling with somebody and the coach would come over and be like, okay, you guys time. That was a win. That was usually a win for the other person. Mm-hmm. But I didn't even know that I didn't even know I lost. I was so bad. So it's been a year and a little over a year and a half. I finally go to a class that I feel like we did. This should have been my huge wellness win. Last week we did, they call it King of the Mat or Queen of the Mat, but I was the only girl there. And you're grappling with somebody. And if you win, you stay down. And then the next person comes on, you grapple with them. If you win, you stay down. And you stay down for 4 times. And if you win the 5th time, it doesn't matter. You switch out and you come out. And the coach asked me, he was like, I know you're the only woman here. Like, do you want to just roll with one of the other coaches or do you want to go in for King of the Mat? I'm like, I'll go in. I'm probably going to get of course, beat every time. And there was 3 white belts. I'm a blue belt, which just means I know I've been there a little longer. But they were this one guy is probably 250. These were big guys. And I started off down and I won 4 times in a row.
Nice.
And every time I would lay there and one time again, we didn't even know I won. I got this guy in half guard and the coach came by and he's like, that's a win. And I'm like, for who? And he's like, for you. I'm like, what? So I was I left there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was Queen of the Mat for 4 little things in a row. I had to get up and it just blew my mind because I felt like such an imposter. I think that was, and this was just last week. I'm like, oh, that was the first time I felt confident. I walked out of there oh, I do know something. This is so exciting. So I completely get that people feel that way. Mm-hmm. And one thing you said, I think is really valuable for you guys. One thing Wendy said, you need to decide why you feel like the imposter. Because when I first started triathlon, even when I went to Kona, and I talked about this in my Kona race report, my first year in Kona, I still felt like an imposter. I felt like I didn't belong there. And this is why. And again, this is in my mind. So you need to figure out why. And this is, it was a physical thing. I felt like I did not look like a triathlete. I was, and not that weight is a thing, but for me, weight has always been a thing. I was 10 pounds heavier than I am right now, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I just didn't like the way it was distributed. I didn't feel like I fit the part. I went and raced Kona, and that was in 2014. And I had been doing triathlon since 1999. So this is not I wasn't a newbie. I'd already done 10 Ironmans before I qualified for Kona. And even in Kona, I felt like the biggest imposter. I felt like I had no business being there. In my age group, I was like second to last. The bike course took me 7 hours and 22 minutes. Like, I'm like, what am I even doing here? In my race report, I cried. I was like, I'm a loser. I shouldn't be here. And then 3 years later, I went back and felt like I belonged. I did not feel like an imposter. The only thing that changed is how I saw myself. So I love that Wendy said that you need to ask yourself, what is it about this? Is it because I feel like I'm slow? Is it because I'm a bad swimmer? Is it because I don't have the right gear? Mine, I'll full transparency, mine was 100% the way I looked, my body, because that's always been such a big issue for me. And now I feel like I, quote, look more the part of a triathlete. And so I feel more confident going in and doing a race. And I try my very hardest to make other people I coach, people I know, my goal when I go to a triathlon is to make every new person feel like they belong in our community. Because I don't think the community's different than Wendy and I have talked about this. Like when we first started, I feel like it was a lot of individual people coming together for a race. And now there's teams, there's people with the same kit. There's teams. There's a lot of teams. That wasn't a thing when we were first starting. I mean, I remember like we had the Northern Colorado Tri Club that started, and that was kind of neat because you saw a couple people at races. But now there's huge teams. There's team competitions. There's there's like races that are like team championships. So I think that feeling of connection and belonging and being part of a team and being part of a sport has grown a lot, which I think is very valuable. And that might help also people who feel that imposter syndrome to get with a positive community, get with a team. If it's like, when I see pictures of me and Wendy when on our first races, our outfits, you would never think we were triathletes.
Right. Oh, it's funny. Like sometimes I would just be in a swimsuit. Sometimes I'd put like the Northern Colorado Triathlon jersey over my swimsuit and not any shorts. Sometimes I'd put shorts over my swimsuit, but not any jersey. But I always wore a swimsuit.
Yeah. And so, even if that's what it is, if you're looking around and you're like, I feel like my outfit doesn't fit the triathlete image, go get spend a couple dollars on a racing kit. If that's what it takes to make you feel part of the sport that you're in.
Right.
And I remember when I got divorced in 2017, and my husband knew like I had some issues, like body image issues and stuff. And I used to tell him that. I used to tell him I never felt like I belonged. I never felt like a triathlete. I never felt like I looked like one. I would go to races and look at the other girls in my age group, and I'm like, they're all going to beat me because they're all skinnier. That was again, it's in my head. That was my issue, but I recognized that was my issue. And when between 2016 and 2017, I'd lost some weight. My body like redistributed some of where I held weight. And I remember when the first time I had seen my husband after we got divorced, like we didn't talk, we didn't see each other for like a year. And I went to go visit him. I just had my daughter. Sorry, I feel like I should move. Can you even hear me?
I can hear you fine. Yeah.
So I went and visited him. He met my daughter. We went and like to my old house. And anyway, I had to bring him some stuff that my parents had at their house in their basement. And this is what he said to me. He goes, how did he say it? He said something like, are you happy? You totally look like a triathlete now.
Uh-huh.
Like he noticed that because he knew that was something that was hard for me to grapple with, is that like visual look. And so he's like, are you happy now that you look like a triathlete or something like that? And I was like, yeah, I am actually. It made a difference for me. So I think if you guys are struggling with that, figure out what it is and see what you can do about it.
Right. So that leads, can I do another question?
Yeah. And then I thought of mine too. So,
Okay, that leads me into another question from an athlete or coach. She said, is there anything you can learn from your college thesis? My master's thesis was eating, training, and prevalence of disordered eating among triathletes that can apply to me with regards to weight and endurance training. So she's struggling with her body weight. She's, I think, like 8 pounds heavier than she was last year, which happens to us females, perimenopause, menopause. There's more to weight gain than just calories in, calories out. Hormones, cortisol, stress levels, genetics. I mean, I'm not a registered dietitian, but again, I did my thesis. I know a lot about um, a lot about eating and so many things affecting body weight. So the answer I gave her was not really, other than my thesis was, I defended my thesis in 1999. And so there wasn't a lot of data or research out there on eating disorders, disordered eating among triathletes. So mine was very new. And I had just done a lot of studying with college athletes and coaches. And the reason I wanted to do this thesis was my college coach told me to lose 5 pounds. I ended up having surgery and I lost a lot of weight. I looked good. So I kept losing weight and I had this disordered eating. Again, it's all in my mind. Disordered eating disorders, it's really a psychological. It's less of an eating issue. It's more of a psychological disorder. So it's very important to get that psychological help you need if you have body image and eating disorder issues. I think a lot of athletes do, all types of athletes do, even bodybuilders with gaining weight. It's not just a losing weight issue, but it's definitely a control thing. Back when I had it, it was definitely a control thing. So I've learned that I just wasn't happy in college. I wasn't happy with my swimming team, my coach. I just wasn't very happy in my undergraduate. And so I think the whole eating disorder thing happened to me. Number one is people said I look good because I lost 10 pounds. So I thought, oh, I'm going to look better if I lose more. But it was really a control. I controlled what I ate and how much I ate. And it was just a control psychological thing. So if you're an athlete out there who still has body image, disordered eating, follow, I just started following that Olympic athlete, female. I can't think of her name. She just does so many good things on Instagram with, maybe you're feeling a little heavy the next morning after you just had the best time with your girlfriends and you may have had a little bit too much to drink or a little bit too much to eat, but you have all these memories. Are you going to let that over compound the fact that you just overate a little bit, even though you have all these awesome memories that you just had with your friends, which cause you to drink a little much and eat? And that's not, again, one day of overeating is not going to do anything for you. But I just thought it was a good topic to bring up because she just recently asked that question.
Yeah, it's a huge topic as athletes in any sport. And like Wendy said, it's not necessarily always just losing weight, but gaining weight. And it's a huge issue for men and women. Mm-hmm. And I recently, one of the girls I coach, she, a couple months ago, her workouts started going downhill, like fast. And she does have some medical issues that cause her workouts to sometimes be up and down. And so I asked her about it because she had no energy. She couldn't finish her workouts all of a sudden, couldn't even finish them. It was a huge thing. And she was like, oh, I'm trying to lose a couple pounds. And I was like, okay, so what are you doing? And she was doing 1,000 calories a day. And I get that. I've been there. Wendy just said she's been there. It's oh, I'm not going to eat because that's going to help me lose weight. And you guys, it doesn't work that way. We've done episodes and maybe it's time to do another episode about eating disorders and dysfunctional eating and disordered eating and body image issues. But if you don't eat, you can't race. If you don't have calories and carbs, your body is not going to be able to do endurance sports. And the best time to lose weight, I'm all about, if you want to lose a few pounds, the best time is in your off season where you don't need the calories to get you through your workouts. So the best time is not training for an Ironman or doing a long distance event. And we've talked about that before, but that might be something worth talking about in a little more depth.
Yeah, I agree. That's good feedback.
Yeah. So yeah, that just happened to her. So yeah, if you guys want more, like Wendy and I both have so much personal experience with our athletes. We can definitely do a deep dive into that again, because it's something that has not dissipated. In fact, I think it's even like more present now because of social media, and we can, more people are transparent. Like back when Wendy and I were first starting, like we didn't know any of these things because we learned about everything from a book, and the book was written 10 years ago. Like it's not, we didn't have this immediate feedback unless we talked to people about it, and people weren't really as open about it. I went and saw not right away. Sorry. I was like in my 30s. So definitely not right away, but I started seeing Jane, who is a sports psychologist who specialized in eating disorders. And, she rocked my world. She opened me up to believe exactly what Wendy said, that it's not an eating or a body image, or it's all a psychological disorder that we think for whatever reason we need to be this way for this specific outcome, whether it's control or to look a certain way. It's all about like, we think we're doing the best thing to feel safe in our own bodies, and it's actually the worst thing.
Right. Like triathlon, ultra running, all the sports of swimming, all the sports I've been in is for anybody and any body.
Yes.
I heard that quote from the Everyday Endurance podcast host, Jason. He says it a lot, anybody and any body. And I just love that. I just love that quote because it's true.
And it's cool about triathlon because, like in my mind, you couldn't be a triathlete, like an elite triathlete, unless you're really skinny. Well, that's been proven wrong by everyone. I mean, like we've all seen that, like a swimmer, she might be a little heavier, but she was like a collegiate swimmer, and she beat you out of the water by 20 minutes.
Right.
And she has these big, powerful legs on the bike, and then she can keep that lead up on the run. And you're like, darn it, that just proved me wrong. So if you look around, you're going to be proven wrong. We just look for things that prove us right, because that's what our brains want to do. They want to help us believe whatever we believe, whether it's true or not. So, I want to mention mine really quickly. I don't have the exact wording now because I left my phone downstairs when I came up here because those kids were screaming. But I just had an athlete. He actually wasn't an athlete. He comes to my master's, but since his race last weekend, he wants to talk about me coaching him because he bonked hard on the run. So I've just been asking, we haven't met yet. We're going to meet next week, but to get an idea, I've been asking him some questions about his race. I was like, I asked him like 100 questions. I'm not going to go over them all, but one of the things he said after answering a bunch of questions about the run, I was asking him about the bike, and he was like, well, I wasn't really prepared for over 3,000 feet of climbing on the bike. And I said, did you know there was 3,000 feet of climbing on the bike? And he said, yes. And I said, did you train for 3,000 miles on the bike? And he said, no.
3,000 feet.
What was that?
You said 3,000 miles, 3,000 feet.
Did I? 3,000 feet of elevation on the bike. And he said, no. So I just wanted to mention, and we've talked about this like throughout podcasts throughout the last year, but it's good to know what type of terrain and what type of elevation and what type of, you need to know the race course and what you're getting into, but knowing it isn't going to get you to the finish line. You have to train with that in mind. And we can't all go to where we're training. So like I have a client training for Badwater. She can't go to Death Valley and train. She lives in New Mexico. But she's studied, she's watched every week. She watches a documentary on Badwater with her crew. Like they're like all in. And then she finds places that are near her that can mimic part of the race, whether it's the elevation, whether it's the terrain, whether it's the heat. So you need to look at your race course and find a way to mimic parts of that race to train the best you can where you're at. Or else when you get to the race, it doesn't matter how fit you are. If you've been training on flats, it doesn't matter if you're the best time trialist on the flat, you start climbing up a huge climb, you're not trained for it.
Right. And that could cause bonking. So again, when you're in that 8 weeks before your race, critical period, that's when you should do race specific terrain as best you can on the area you live at, race specific intensity, and dial in your fueling plan.
Yes. Awesome.
No, there's no reason not to. We talk about this all the time. Coaches talk about that all the time. The forums, the Facebook groups. There's no reason not to. Everyone, I think, by now knows that. Even if you're a first timer, you've asked that question in a Facebook group.
Right.
So you know that. You just need to trust it and execute it.
Right. And he is not a first timer. I'll talk to him more specifically next week, but I've known him for 10 years and he's been racing since I've known him.
Right.
So there's no excuse for that. And especially with what we have available to us now, like every race has elevation maps. It has, you can look up any race. It's on Strava. The race director sometimes have a video course of the entire course. You can see where the potholes are. You can pre-ride a lot of the bike courses and run courses before your race. The day before your race, just drive it. See what the terrain's like. See what the road's like. So
there's a lot of ways to prepare. Yeah.
So no excuses. So what are you most excited for this upcoming week?
Well, the immediate is we have our first summer league meet and I'm assistant coach. I love not being head coach, but I like being the assistant.
Yes.
I like being the experienced assistant coach because it's like I'm head coach because I have a lot of experience.
But you don't have to do all the head coach work.
I don't have to do all the head coach work. So I'm in a really good position. So I'm excited to see how the kids do. Because I started subbing. I subbed for the head coach for a week, and that's why I decided, can I be one of the assistants? Because I'm really enjoying this summer league. So that's the immediate. And then in the not so immediate, I'm excited to go back to Brasstown Bald at 4,700 feet of elevation gain. I feel like I love the trails there. And
how far is it from your house?
It's a 2-hour drive.
Okay.
But like I'm willing to say that is worth going to again. Where in the past, we've talked about this before. Sometimes I get anxious. I don't want to make the drive, just stay local, yada, yada, yada. But like, there's a trail that my friend told me, recommended that I go do. And I couldn't find the trailhead. So I did something else. And then we talked about it today. And I'm like, I got to go back and do it. Because I do have a 50K coming up at the end of July in Utah that I believe starts at 7,000 feet of gain. So getting a little bit of the altitude training and then just some really, really super steep sections for my upcoming race in 6 weeks or so, is worth it's my motivated to do it because I'm in my race preparation mode again. And so
exactly.
That's exciting.
We just talked about that. Like she found this place that she hasn't been to a couple of years. So now she's like, oh, wait, this is going to help my race. I'm going to make it a priority.
I'm going to make it a priority. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I am most excited because I do have a swim meet Saturday as well, and it's in Boulder. And so I'm just going to bring my bike. And when I get done, it's the Boulder half Ironman's going on. So I'm not going to go in that area, but I want to ride up in the hills of Boulder. Same reason. I have a race in I think it's in 4 weeks. It's coming really quickly. It's July 12th. I think that's 4 weeks away because I think today might be close to the 12th.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. And I'm my training admittedly has been completely haphazard because my life just got crazy, but I don't have my daughter this weekend. We have a swim meet in Boulder. So I'm going to bring all my stuff, and hang out, bike a bunch of hills, and I have nothing else I have to do on Saturday after the meet. So it's going to be my hill. My race is going to be, I haven't even looked at the profile, which is something I want to do. I'll look at it before Saturday, but just get in something similar in elevation to what I will be experiencing.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So yeah, I'm going to look, that's on my list to do the rest of this week, is to look at the profile of the bike. And then there's always something around here that can mimic that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have lots of options around here. So, well, awesome. It was so good to see you, Wendy. Sorry about you guys. I don't know if you'll be able to hear all the screaming kids in the background when we post this, but if so, I apologize. Kids are kids, right?
Yeah, it works for me.
I know. You guys are awesome. Let us know what other questions you have. I know Wendy and I have like 5 more questions, but we'll, in a couple more months or maybe in another few weeks, we'll do another, since I know a lot of, this is, like I said, this is the time to race. So let us know what questions you guys have.
And racing is part of your wellness.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks for being here, you guys.
Bye. Make it a great day.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten. If you want to learn more about us or anything we talked about today, check out the links in our show notes. We would love to know what you think of our podcast and what you want more of. So drop us a comment, send us a message, and help us out by leaving us a rating and a review. And don't forget to let us know your wellness win for this week. Thanks for listening. Make it a great day.